this. We got this. It's okay. It's Monday. It's the new year, 2025. Like, I'm so excited to see how this year goes. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go down the list. So basically, haven't touched it yet. I see a lot of repeat customers here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming along this journey with me. I've made a few things. I know for a fact that a lot of you have created a few wonderful things so far. So I'm very proud of you. And you're a blender wizard, just like Swifty, who is here, champion of all champions right now. Thank you for being here to all the advanced blender gurus here. Alrighty, so let's move on. Worlds with trees. So I'm going to give you some examples. First off, and this is not a shameless plug, but it's definitely in the topic, and those who know me know I like my trees. I like making trees because they're fun. They're expressive. You know, they're just, I don't know, they're just fun to make, especially filling an environment and all that. So the story with these trees in particular is the leaves themselves that was a picture I took from a tree in my backyard as an experiment to see what it would look like and kind of have a piece of my own life experience in 3D, you know? So yeah, I really do like the way that turned out. So I would say definitely, if you have like a flower that somebody gave you, take a picture of the petal, take a picture of the stem and the leaf. You know, these things are good to have, you know, and you could do so many cool things with just that texture, and you could remix it into so many different items. All right, so next up is the soapstone. I did have my hands in making these items, in particular, the all of the flowers, the birds of paradise, the palm trees, and they're actually all sharing one texture map. And so when you're planning your foliage, when you're planning your all of your trees, like, ask yourself, like, how many items can I fit on one texture map for optimization? So next is bugs. I also made those trees. I know, I'm sorry, it's like all me, and I really am not trying to be like this, but next up is bugs, and I really like these trees. I was going for more of a kind of like a marshmallow feel and more of a whimsical. Yes, that's you. That's you, Josh. You know, I'm basically, these trees are more on the sculpted side. I will not be showing you guys how I did this just yet, because we're going to keep it super simple so that it's definitely going to be a way for you guys to just get in there and just easily make your trees. There has to be. Well, actually, no. Next one, you guys, which is absolutely like my favorite, is not that one. There we go. I must have duplicated that. VR Garden by Metaverse Page. I absolutely love this world. I love how expressive this world is. It's artistic, you know. This is her own artwork, basically put on planes, and you can absolutely make a world with just art, you know. So I would say, if you have Procreate, if you have any drawing app, you can even use your phone. There are drawing apps on your phone that you can use. So don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. I don't have it. Yeah, yes, you do. You have it somewhere. So definitely experiment, think outside the box, because that's what being an artist is all about, right? Is just being expressive and just using what you have, right? I love this world. Basically, you know, she has her art style, which I love. You know, it's very whimsical, it's very free. um you can tell that she just loosely just creates these items, and they're just very dancey. And then the choice of color, I mean, don't be afraid to use color. So yeah, moral of the story, think outside the box, because you never know that mark you'll hit. So I must have duplicated this so many times. Anyways, so with that said, absolutely. Yeah, tilt brush is a lot of fun. However, I know a lot of those items can get expensive. So definitely be mindful of the geo that comes out of tilt brush. I do love me some tilt brush though. It's really fun to create with. All right. So different types of tree shapes. Sorry, that was a tongue twister for me. So the tree shapes, you have your round, which basically in this picture would be more of the black oak tree. As you can see, the way it grows, it just grows very billowy and fluffy, right? And then you have your spreading trees, which would be more of this butternut tree here. Kind of just spreads outward. So I don't know if you've ever like went outside and looked at the trees and see which direction they dance to. Of course, they mostly end up kind of pointing up, right? And that's because they're pointing up towards the sun. But at the same time, they also have their own styles of growing. So that this one, the spreading, will grow outwards. Pyramidal would be more of your Christmas trees. Yes, oh my gosh, willows are beautiful. So yeah, pyramidal trees, that would be your Christmas tree. They're basically cone shape and they just point straight up. And then you have your oval trees. Your oval trees would be more towards this American hornbeam, right? Then you have your conical trees, would be more of this, I don't see it here, but it would be more of like a cypress tree, which is kind of like tall and slender type tree, you know. You have your vase tree, which, I mean, it is what it sounds like, where it's, and there's no example here, but it kind of is sort of like a inverted pyramid, which is pointing down. And then weeping, which would be the weeping willow trees. They're very weighted, is down here at the bottom. So they grow up, and then basically they drape down as they're growing, you know, very beautiful trees. And then you have your irregular, which would be kind of a mixture of this butternut with, I don't know, any one of these that kind of look like a burst of like a firework or something like that. Okay. So today I am definitely going to keep it super simple. Like I said, I want you guys to be able to simply just create these trees. And once again, I really hope you guys share your experience with me. Definitely share in the What I'm Building or the CMI channel, whichever one. Definitely share your work, guys, because I do look forward to seeing what you made. All right, so the two methods. So today we're going to be extruding, or we're going to be using curves. So I'm going to show you the both. I'll tell you what, my favorite is extruding, because because you have a little more control over the GL, right? You have control over where those edge loops lay. So trim sheets and carded items. So I basically created a trim sheet for you guys. I drew it out in Procreate so you guys can have a feel of what that would look like. You know, you guys can go ahead and create your own trim sheets. You find petals, you'll find leaves, anything that you want to create with. You could do any shape. I mean, really, we're in a virtual space. Like, you can make alien trees if you wanted to, with really weird squigglies, all of that stuff you can absolutely make. You could create kind of like a pastel color palette and make a pastel forest. So definitely get creative with this stuff. And once again, thank you for being here. Let's get to work. Here we are starting fresh today. Okie doke. So first off, we're going to be, yes, bring out your inner artist. Listen, you make a mistake, make it a happy tree. You know, so definitely there are no rules. All right, I'm just putting my hair up. Okay, so alrighty, so I am here. Yes, Bob Ross. I am here in my brand new file. I'm going to press X and then delete. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the screen keys. Hopefully that works. All right, perfection. Delete those guys. Okay, so first off, I'm putting the hair up. Yes. Okay. So first off, I did say that I was going to do the extrusion first already. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create Shift A, and then I'm going to create this time a circle, right? And now with this circle, I'm going to bring this down because we don't want it that expensive. I think 10 is good. No. Gosh. All right, good. So now we have our circle. All right, so what do we do with this? So I'm going to press Tab, and then I'm going to do Alt E. Actually, no, I'm just going to press E to extrude, and then Z to stay on this Z axis. All right, cool. Something funky happened, so let me try that again. I'm going to press EZ, bring that up. I don't know, it looks a little twisted, but we'll work with it because we're making something that is dancey and organic anyways. So what I'm going to do is on my number pad, I'm going to press 3. And actually another thing I want to do before I do anything, sorry, I'm like skipping steps here, is I'd like to import my little guy. So I'm going to do FBI. So I'm going to find, hold on, always organize your files because, yeah, it gets crazy. Okay, so that tube is huge. I delete one of these guys. Actually, the guy usually doesn't work for me. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to bring that girl over. I'm going to do G, and then there we are. All right, cool. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to just scale it down a little bit, because I don't want to make such a massive tree just yet. So the avatars are actually the correct height. They're not the same avatars as we have now. These are the old school avatars. However, the height is correct. So you can absolutely use this for proportions. Sorry. Alrighty. Two. Hold on, let me turn this on. Here we are. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to go ahead and press tab, and I'm going to press 3 for orthographic view. Turn that over just a bit, and then I'll go to town with extruding. So I'm going to scale this down just a slight bit, and then I'm going to press E to extrude by the Z-axis, right? And now what I can do is I can start shaping the trunk now. So what I can do is do Control R, and I'm going to add just some loop cuts. Okie doke. Here we are. I added some loop cuts, and now let's start shaping. So I'm going to go ahead and Shift Alt, select this this edge loop, and I'm going to scale it. And I could absolutely do proportional editing, but right now I'm just keeping it simple, and I don't know why that's doing that. Scaling it, you know, for those who are not used to using all of the tools, you can absolutely just take your time. I usually like to blast my music and just carefully shape everything to the way I want it, and I think that looks pretty solid. Pretty solid. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this edge loop here. I'm going to scale this down some more. And I'm going to leave that at that for now. Alrighty, so now it's like, hey, now what about some branches? Well, either I can make them separately, or I can actually extrude them from the geometry. So for example, let's say I wanted to extrude from this side, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Control R, and I'm going to create this edge loop. Control R again, I'm going to create this edge loop. So now I have this perfect square here. What I can do is I'm going to do face select mode. Actually, can absolutely just keep it simple. I'm going to go ahead and press G. I know it's kind of wonky right now, but definitely trust the process because we're molding this really funky tree. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so now I have this section here. I can extrude. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do Alt E this time, and I'm going to extrude along normals. I'm going to scale that down. And now, you know, just carefully, and it got funky, but that's okay. That is all right. I mean, this is definitely not how I would do it, to be honest, but we're just going with it for now. Okay, so basically, yeah, you guys get the idea. We're just basically modeling, molding, and shaping to the way we want it. This is definitely how I created my trees in fairies. Just a little differently, and it's because I definitely used another software. So we're gonna do E to extrude and scale. So now I have me a branch. All right, cool. And then I can go ahead and create. I used Maya. Transparency. Okay, so Control R. I'm gonna create another edge loop, and the reason why this way is pretty good is because now let's be mindful of how our UVs are going to work in this scenario, right? So in this scenario, let's say I wanted to cut the UVs open, and this is why geo is really important. So for example, I'm going to go to the UV editing tab, right? I'm going to take this guy to the UV editing tab. Alrighty. So let's say I wanted to unwrap this one trunk with this one branch, right? And this is really important. Usually when I model things, I model it according to what my UV maps are going to be planned as. So for example, I can take this edge loop here, right? And I can cut my UVs along this seam. And then I'm going to do right click, mark seam. Okay, so that's one seam. And let's say I wanted this tube to open up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and shift alt. And then I'm going to do right click, mark seam. Alrighty. So now I have my UVs, except for this. Thank you. Stay there. Okay. So now check what happens when I take this guy. I'm going to go ahead and not smart, project from view. I'm going to take this guy, right click, unwrap, and see now, except for this funky town happened here. Something did not do the thing. Oh, I'm silly. And this can absolutely be fixed. I'll just open it up. Right click, mark seam, right click, unwrap. All right, cool. And as you can see now, and if I wanted to straighten my UVs, as you can see, if I were to have a trim sheet, which I'll show you guys later, I can position these guys as such and super easy peasy. And yeah, you have part of a tree. So let me just do some more branches because we're going to use this trunk later on. Definitely practice your UVs. UVs are so important for the texturing process. I can't stress it enough. When you have really good UVs, you have really good texturing and you'll be super proud of it. I promise you. So pay attention to how you're modeling. And I now continue to say it. Trust the process. And just bring this down. Bring this up. Kind of make it circular. But I'm just gonna bring this in just the smidge more. I know it's going in a little bit, but really, trees are funky anyways. And their nature is very forgiving. So definitely don't be afraid to be too perfect. You know, just do the thing, you know? I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna just extrude. And I'm going to scale down. I'm going to G, rotate. Right now I'm eyeballing the rotation right now. I don't like this guy here, so I'm going to bring that up just a smidge. I don't know why I rotated that. It's G. There we are. Bring this out just a bit. And whoops. Don't be afraid to really orbit your model as you're modeling, because that will be helpful in the future. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to E, extrude, S to scale down. You could even create an extrusion on the side. So for example, we're going to go ahead and we're going to Control R, create some edge loops, Control R. And the thing about trees is this. Usually, and most of the time, the branches kind of make like a Y shape, right? And if you just made a whole bunch of Y shapes and you stick them together, you definitely made a tree. right? So let's just make that Y shape right now. I'm gonna just go ahead and bring this over. It's a little funky, but it's all right. Like, it's okay to be loose with it because we are beginners and we are just making the thing. Like, just be mindful though of the geo. The geo is very important. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take this. It's not perfect, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and press E to extrude. I'm gonna scale this down. Alrighty, E to extrude. I know Paige Danziger did create stuff from Tilt Brush. I've helped her bring in her items. My only suggestion is to definitely be mindful of the geo because it can get really expensive. And that's the same goes for Gravity Sketch, being mindful of what is exported. All right, cool. We got that going. Alrighty. I'm just gonna finish this one up. We can use it. Okay, I'm gonna just actually extrude this. Whoops. Cheese it. Extrude this. Scale it down. Okay. Now we have a funky tree trunk that we can use. Right click, mark seam. Gonna go ahead and UV unwrap this guy. We're gonna do cool stuff with this base tree. Okay, so that is one way to create a tree. And I'm gonna show you a different way. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna separate this guy as well, actually. I'm gonna be super quick with it because I definitely don't want to spend too much time on each one. Making sure that this one can open up. Remembering that there is a cap that needs to be UV'd. Right click, mark seam. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to open that up by there. Right click, mark seam. Okay. Now we have our proper seams for this guy. But we're going to bring it aside because I'm going to show you a different way to make trees. It's a little more loosey-goosey, but with that said, being mindful, it is expensive. And I could actually hit that with the shade smooth to see what it looks like. And I could fix all that later. That's fine. Gonna do GX, bring this aside. Okie dokie. Now, next way is a pretty neat way to do it. I'm gonna go ahead and press Shift A and create a cube. Now with this cube, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna go Tab, and then I'm gonna press M to merge vertices at center. So now I have one single vertice. So what I did was I took all four corners of that cube and I just mashed it into one vertice. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to go ahead and press 3. I'm going to actually move that over. Okay. And then I'm going to start extruding from that one vertice. Extrude, extrude. And as you can see, with these vertices, I can start making the shape I want, right? And basically, I'm creating kind of like my own curve, you know? Hello, Jillian. Okay, extrude, extrude. extrude. Now this tree is a little more dancey, a little more expressive, but really, I kid you not, just experiment with all these ways to make your foliage. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this vert, and then I'm going to start extruding from that. Creating my branch, remembering that branches branch off as little Ys. And I'm going to bring a branch down here. Okie dokie. But what's wrong with this picture? Right? Anybody tell me? I just started, but what's wrong with it? Right? Exactly. It's flat. There is no shape to this curve that I created, right? There is no movement. So what I can do is I can start going in different angles and moving these vertices. I can absolutely either just loosely, because remember, trees, as perfect as they are, they're kind of imperfect on how they grow out. You know, they're just unique. So I can do that. I can press R for rotate, and I can start moving things around. And I can absolutely take this entire side and rotate and bring this over, you know, really giving it that dimension, right? Yeah, it's got to. All right, and then I can actually take this vert and start extruding from it, right? Excuse me. All right, cool. I think I need a little shum over here, so I'm going to E to extrude. All right, cool. Now I have a very, very dancey tree. Actually, I can take it a step further and go back to this proportional editing. I'm going to click on a vertice and I'm going to press G. I can scroll up to really give it, or scroll down, and now we can grab multiple vertices and start just tweaking it, you know, like make it nice, you know. Very cool. Now we have a really cool tree. So when you take a cube and you go into edit mode, you're going to press M to merge the verts. Yes, thank you, Swifty. You're amazing. Okay, so now I have my wireframed tree. Okay, so what are we going to do now? We are going to go ahead and go tab, right? We're back in object mode. We created a really cool object. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the modifiers and we're going to add what is called a skin. And check out what happens. Whoa! Now we made, I mean, it could be something, right? It can be something if you wanted to, but it's wrong. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and bring this back to edit mode. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn on this X-ray mode so we can see what's going on. So, all right, cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do Control A. Control A, what it does is it manipulates each vertice. So definitely remember that. So I'm going to go ahead and do Control A to Sorry guys, because I'm like having a brain blip. I get excited during this process. It's really fun. Control A to manipulate birds. So that's all right. So now, being mindful of that Control A, let's start shaping our tree. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on the tops first, right? Because normally what happens to the tips of these branches, they kind of go in a little bit. Yeah, Blue, this seems better. And I'll show you the reason why. Like, it's not my go-to. I mean, it has been my go-to every once in a while, but number one, it gets really expensive. And number two, trying to UV this thing can be a little nightmarish. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and Control A, and I can use my proportional editing by scrolling my wheel to get the desired size I want. Okay, and then I'm going to push my mouse in just a bit. And there you go. Now it's starting to look very tree-ish. Actually, I'm going to Control A, and I'm going to just actually bring those tree tips just out a little bit. It doesn't need to be so pointy. Okay, so now, yeah, because there is a, yeah, I'll show you guys. But it's definitely not an option to just throw away. You know, if you have a small world where you can spend a little geo and you want a really pretty tree, you know, with some of this like very dancey movements, absolutely. 100% use this, because I have actually in the world plants, that tree in the middle was made this way, you know, so definitely you can use it. I will just be mindful of it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go into edit mode. I'm going to show you guys what this tree looks like. Nice. So if I were to go ahead and shade smooth, no, nothing happens. And why is that? Basically it is the way the skin is added, right? But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a remesh. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a modifier on top of this, and I'm going to do remesh. Funky things happen, but now we have to kind of play around with it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bump this voxel size down. And as you can see, if you see the details there, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of wild. Not a fan. However, you can absolutely decimate. It's a very sci-fi tree. Yeah, I'm not sure. Hold on a second. Hold on a darn tootin' second. I'm going to go ahead and go from skin, and I'm just going to apply this. Actually, no. I'm just kidding. I'd like to duplicate my work first. There we are. Okie dokie. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this modifier. And then I'm going to do that remesh. There we are. It got less funky, but needless to say, it is what it is. Voxel size. Alrighty, so we have this tree, right? Look at what happens. Yikes. That is one expensive tree. Now, don't be scared though, because we can do things to this tree. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and apply that modifier. I'm going to go ahead and go down to decimate and start decimating this guy. I am hoping and praying my PC doesn't melt in itself. And there we have it. It is absolutely expensive. However, now, and I don't know why it's coming out like that. Anyways, now you have something to work with, you know? Oh, yeah, let me get those stats up. Hold on a second. I forget where to go for that. Sometimes it's statistics. Alrighty. So I went from, let's see, bam, 17,000 vertices. And let's bring this down. And of course, season to taste, you know, it's a simple tree. And now you could take, yeah, it is absolutely insane. The thing is that a tree like this, I wouldn't even bother UVing. Like, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's a big difference. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to apply this modifier. Right. So now this is a very expensive tree. As you can see, I was able to create a least expensive tree. I mean, granted, it's only kind of half the tree, but you can still see the difference in geo, you know? So when you're building, definitely ask yourself, what is more important to you? You know, a more optimized situation or something that is going to be kind of like the centerpiece. Now, this tree, like I said, I definitely wouldn't UV unwrap. If I were to go tab into edit mode, yikes. Like, this is not fun. Unless you get yourself one of those modifiers. I mean, not modifiers. It's an add-on. But they are paid add-ons. I don't know if you're serious and you want to, I would look into, like, I don't know, the Blender market. They have add-ons for kind of like remeshing, but remeshing a little simpler, you know. So me personally, yeah, it's a paid add-on, but it's absolutely a good one. Me personally, I pay for ZBrush. I pop that baby into ZBrush and it comes out really good, you know. So yeah, definitely do your research when it comes to this. But having straight edge loops is so important, and I can't stress that enough. Okay, so like I said, with this one, absolutely take this into Vertex and go to town. Like, okay, I'm on the right mode, and this is basically how I created the plants. In plants is I didn't texture them, I just vertex painted them. And you can absolutely bring this in with that underscore VXC, call it a day. Actually, can I just, no, don't I have a paint bucket tool somewhere? But either way, you get the idea, right? And don't forget to, like, vertex painting is pretty cool because you could actually paint in variations of color. It's based off of the vertices, the vert count that you have. And lucky for you is that this tree is pretty stinking expensive. So you could go to town and start creating like light and shadow, you know, all that fun stuff. So, like, you know, you can go to town with just creating all that. And why not? You know, definitely don't count it out if you have something simple. Yes, I can't wait to see your trees. Okay, so this is vertex painting. And of course, when you tab back into, actually, when you go into object mode, the color goes away, but don't worry, it's still going to be there. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw this baby aside. Okay, so now I just showed you the two methods used to create a tree, and both are very much usable. Very much usable. It depends on what you want to do. Alrighty, but we are going to now focus on this tree. Hold on a second. Let me just... Okie doke. Alrighty, so focusing on this tree, of course, I don't have many branches. I don't have anything going on, is because we're going to make those separate. So I'm going to show you guys the way I created my tree cards in so many different in different worlds, different projects. So for example, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of rendering, and this process is super fun. And you could do so many cool things with this type of rendering. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a let's see. I can actually use another curve. So for example, if I were to Shift A and I create curve and I'll use a Bezier curve. I'm going to tab, and then I'm going to take these guys and start manipulating them to the way I want. And so for example, oh, that's why. Okay. So be sure that your proportional editing is not on and messing you up, because that happens. Whoops. Actually, I'm just going to leave that simple because we don't need it for world import. We'll need it for rendering. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this data tab, geometry, and I'm going to go ahead and nope, just kidding. What am I doing wrong? And so, oh, that's the, yep, okay, yep, that's it. All right, hold on a second. Let me delete it. Start over. It's okay. When things go wrong, why not? Shift A, curve, Bezier. I'll just leave it like that. Where was it? Geometry. Extrude. No. Oh my God, I'm totally... there it is. There it is. Okay, cool. And as you can see, I'm making a tube already. So now I can take this and I can go ahead and... Actually, no, I believe it's Shift S. Or is it S? Is it Control Shift S? As you can see, I don't use this method a lot, and it's okay. I'll just use it as that. I'm going to go ahead and convert to mesh. Cool. Now I can go to town with and scale this down just a smidge. Scale that down. Wait. Where's my guy? Hold up. All right, you make mistakes. You create happy little trees, guys. But now what I'm doing is I'm taking this geo and I'm going to go to X-ray mode and grab that. And I can... This is totally usable. All right, sweet. And it's not perfect, but that's okay, because we're going to do something really cool with this. And it's expensive, but that's all right too. Trust the process. I said trust it. Okay, so cool. Actually, Gonna go ahead and take that edge select mode, and I'm going to select an entire edge. Whoops, because I'm on X-ray mode. That absolutely can mess you up. All right, right click, mark seam. Okay, so now I have a single seam. Alrighty, so now let me introduce you guys to that trim sheet I created. So this is basically the trim sheet I created in Procreate, drawn specially for you guys. Nothing, seriously, it was just loosely done, and I definitely invite you guys to be very expressive when it comes to, yes, this is recorded, when it comes to creating your art. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, definitely be expressive about it. Use funky colors, you know, make trees purples, pinks, blues, you know, pastels. Just definitely make it your own. Don't be afraid. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically UV the trunk. I'm going to UV the branches in this color, right? And mind you, I didn't do it. I didn't draw this to where it's kind of like seamless, but you guys will get the idea, and definitely try it out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a material. And so I'm going to create that and rename it. So this time with this trim sheet, trim demo, I named it _ and we're absolutely going to use the masked command for the entire thing. And it's okay to use it for the tree trunk because it is part of the trim sheet. This is definitely how I did it in the soapstone. There is no, everything is the same trim sheet, not brought in extra times. It's just one. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish naming this masked. Alrighty, cool. I'm going to make sure this is on. I'm going to go ahead and go to base color, select this yellow button, image texture, open. I'm going to go to my desktop and find the tree demo, trim demo right here. All right, cool. Now let's go to town in UV unwrapping this part here. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the UV editing tab. And then I'm going to go ahead and press A for all. Press A for all here. And what's cool about pulling from a curve is it's actually automatically kind of like perfect the geo. It is a little expensive right now, but the way it's like automatically UV unwraps for you. So you don't really technically have to do anything with that, which is nice. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and scale this. I'm going to scale it by, actually X. I'm going to bring that down. And I'm going to place that right there. I am hoping that is... Oh, I'm like, why can't I see it? Silly. You have to activate the mode in every tab that you're in. I sometimes forget that. So scale it by Y. I'm going to just squish it in there, just making sure that it is in the right place. I'm going to go ahead and... I don't know why I can't. There we are. Let me see what it looks like. It might be in the wrong orientation. And that's okay. But I don't see off here. Oh, turn it off. Oh, thank you very much. Yep, I'm crazy. It's all right. Listen, there's a lot of knowledge packed into this brain of mine. So you guys just stick with me and everything will be A-okay. Okay, so Can't really see much. I think that's fine. For the sake of what we're using it for, it's perfect. Okay, so now we have part of a branch. Okay, so let's start building out this branch. So for example, I'd like to change the pivot of this branch. So I'm going to go ahead and do, I'd like to do, shift, right click, and that's fine. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to do object, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. Now what's going to happen is this is going to be super simple. So I'm going to do rotate, and now I can rotate by this pivot, which is super helpful for what I need it for. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift D, and I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to rotate by the y-axis 90 degrees. Now, this part is really cool to use, which would be this snapping tool. What we're going to do is snap base by center, and then we're going to use the face. Alrighty. And now look what happens. I'm going to go ahead and scale this down, and I'm going to go and press G. Whoops. No. And then align rotation to target. That's important too, because look, so I'm going to press G, and now any face I choose should align. There we are. And now I created a branch. Okay, cool. What are we going to do with this one branch? Well, we need leaves, right, for this tree. Alrighty, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the snapping because that's going to mess me up for sure. I'm going to grab this. I can give it a Control J for it to be one solid branch. Cool. I'm going to then bring this over to the side. Alrighty, neat. Now what I need to do is do a Shift A, mesh, plane. All right, cool. So most of these crash course lessons have not been released yet. They will be. They're still being worked on. And then once they are released, then you guys will definitely be the first ones to know that they are released. I do apologize on how long it's taken, but definitely I'm definitely going to get to the bottom of it this week. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and give it that material. But look what happens. Now the material, it's here, but it's not transparent. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and I usually like to just slide over a window, go into the shader editor, bring this over. The screen is so small, it throws me off, and it's fine. I'm going to take my PNG and connect the alpha to the alpha channel. Super simple. Now, if I just join these guys, I'm going to just get rid of that. Now we have an extra cool transparent PNG. That way you can visualize what's going on. And I can see there's a little issue there, but that's okay. This is just for demo purposes. So as you can see, I made the bark. I made you guys some tufts of grass so you can card in some grass. I made you 2 flowers and 2 kinds of leaves. But what I want to work with is this one leaf here. So I'm going to go ahead and press tab. I'm going to then go to K for knife tool, and I'm just going to cut this baby out. I'm going to keep it super simple. We don't need it to be too expensive. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to P for separate and then selection. Cool. I'm going to tab to edit mode, and take this guy, delete it. So now all I have is this. Okie dokie. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this face. Actually, no, I'd like to do Control R, actually, and give it a little bit of geo for some movement. Cool. Now, if I do GZ, now I have some formation happening. Cool. GZ. I need to turn off that proportional editing. Cool. GZ. And now, if I were to just shape this up, now I have a super cute little leaf. Cool. Alrighty, let's do stuff with this one leaf. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and first off, really important, I'm going to do tab to edit mode, right click, shade smooth, so that's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to do shift, right click. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to bring that right there because that's where the leaf starts. Then what I'll do is I'll do object, set origin to 3D cursor. Boom. There you go. So now if I were to rotate, that origin is doing its thing. Okay. So, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to rotate. I'll just rotate this manually by the X axis. And then I'm going to go ahead and start placing it on my branch. Okay, cool. So, and I'm going to try to be super quick because I could be here all night, you guys. So definitely, I won't ramble too much. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this snapping tool once more. All the settings should still be in place. Then I'm going to go ahead and go to town by pressing G. And I'm going to start adding. And I'll go ahead and go closer. Now I can rotate and do Shift D. Now you could just simply create the tree that you want. Super cute. And it's like, okay, now Space Glitter, this looks great and all, but it looks expensive. Well, what we're doing is we're going to take a picture of this. We're not actually using this geo. I mean, unless you want to, but I mean, really, you're the artist, seasoned to taste, you know. As long as you're optimizing your worlds as such, it's fine, you know? So, okay. So a few more leaves. Shift D. Gonna go ahead and take that, rotate it, Shift D. And now you can absolutely use a modifier for this, but keeping it super simple for you newbies, we're just hand placing this. It's absolutely fine. You can absolutely do this. Like I said before, blast some music, do your thing. You know, you got this. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip that up. Shift D. No, I did Control D. No, I don't want that. There we are. I do not want Control D. It's Shift D. And go ahead. All right. So now, okay. So I have one single branch. Now, for now, it's showing, right? But remember, what we're doing is we are rendering this. So the bottom half doesn't really matter. It's gonna show here though. So what I'd like to do is Control J. I'm gonna join this guy, right? And I'm gonna reset that pivot. Bring that there. It's fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to object, set origin to 3D cursor. Now, check this out. Now I can do Shift D, right? And then I can rotate, I can flip, and I can really make it my own. And I actually need to turn this on. And now, as you can see, we're starting to form what would be a branch, right? Okay, cool. Rotate. I know it's a little sloppy right now, but I'm actually trying to be quick with it and get to the good stuff. And then I can just Shift D, and then I could rotate, take this guy, G, scale that up a little bit. Cool. Alrighty. Yeah, cool. Now, what are we going to do with this guy? What we're going to do is this. We're going to take this, going to join it again, and now we're going to take a nice picture of it. And now this method can be used for so many things. So many things. First off, we need lighting for our scene. So if I were to go to the rendering mode, it turns dark, right? And I'm gonna just keep it in rendering mode. I'm gonna do Shift A. Actually, yeah, the cursor's there, Shift A, and I'm going to start creating my lights. I'm gonna do an area light. And I'm gonna just bump up the power. Let me see what 1000 looks like. Yeah, that's a little bright, so I'm gonna just go down a bit. And of course, yeah, that's good. You guys get the idea. Let's just bring this down a little more. It is turning a little shiny, but that's definitely due to texturing. Actually, that's fine. Yeah, you guys will get the idea. So I'm going to do something else that is really important for this is the camera. So I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to go ahead and create that camera because this camera is going to be the thing that takes the picture. And I'm going to mess with the rotation really quick. I'm going to just zero everything out so I could start fresh. So if I were to then go G and then Z, bring that up, right click, and then set the active camera. So now you see what's going to be rendered. I can actually take this guy, rotate it, and position into place. It's a bit shiny, that's all right. It's more of a suggestive for now. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do 2048 by 2048 because why not? Whoops. There we are. Now we're about to take a really cool picture. I do see some pixelation, but that's definitely on the art side. But I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. Actually, I'm gonna bring the wattage down just a smidge more. Just don't bring it to 1,000, guys. I was like, not 6,000 either. I think that's good. That looks fine. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a few settings. Alrighty. So what we're going to do is first off, we're going to go to the render settings. We can keep it at Eevee. we're going to go down to film. Kamehameha. Anyways, my son's been making me watch Dragon Ball Z. We just finished watching Broly. Yeah, he's making me watch everything. And now I know too much. All right, so what we're going to do is in the film, we're going to go ahead and click on transparent. So now as you can see, you have your transparency. So let's say you made something really cool in Blender and you wanted to take a picture of it. It doesn't have to just be trees. It could be so many different things, you know? And this is actually a helpful tool to get that background effect out of the way. So now, before I press render, of course, I always like to save my file. I'm gonna save it. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we can go up to the top. F12 is the hotkey to render, but yep, I'm gonna just press this button under the render tab. And as you can see now, I have a transparent PNG pretty much rendered from Blender. So many things you can do with this one tool. And I only just made one branch because, you know, you guys get the idea. You're the artist, go to town, like really be creative. You could absolutely make a trim sheet just by doing this as well. You know, like you could create multiple items. Like let's say you model the flower and it has its own texture map. You can absolutely take a picture and put it in here. You know, so many things. But let's focus on this one branch. So I'm going to go ahead and image, save as. I'm going to save it into the tree demo and I'm going to call this branch. Cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to save that image, making sure that the PNG item is selected. Excuse me. Need some water. I know I am expressing with something because you guys can't see my hands. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna go ahead and go back into this this shader mode and let's bring in that item. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually bring this over to the side. I'm gonna leave this for you guys to play around with. And you could put anything under this camera and just take a picture. Have fun with it. I'm going to go ahead and bring this there. I'm going to do Control S. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. It's now Shift S. Sorry, my bad. Cursor to world origin so that now we're at the center. All right, cool. Shift A. Create that plane. And now we're going to go to base color, create that image, open, branch. Actually, I did a boo-boo, and that would be underscore BA. Cool. Now I have an image of a branch. But over here, branch underscore masked. Cool beans. Now I have the proper naming convention. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new folder, not a new folder, a new window, shader editor, so that I can see my alphas. Going to connect. Boom. Very cool. Right click, join areas. Nice. I'm going to zoom in really quick. And I'm going to do shift right click so that the right pivot is where it's supposed to be. And then I'm going to do object, set origin to 3D cursor. Sweet. But excuse me. I still want some movement in this one item. And also, with that said, I also need some geo. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Control R right here, smack in the middle. I'm going to do another Control R, and I'm going to just bring this up. And I think that's good. And I'm going to leave it at that. Keeping it nice and simple. So I'm going to go ahead and with my proportional editing, I'm going to do G, Z. I'm going to just bring this up. Very cool. Now it's pretty much the shape I want it to be. So now let's tab back into object mode and start placing this branch. Before we do that though, we would like to fix this texture map. Okay, cool. That looks great and all, but it needs to be fixed. So I'm going to go back to the UV editing. Now I can go ahead, right click, unwrap. So now I have all my funky pieces. I'm going to turn this off and start placing things where I want them to be. So I'm going to do, whoops, I don't want that on. Okay, cool. I'm going to rotate that, scale it up just a smidge. Take this, rotate it, scale it. Just being loose with it right now. Scale that down. Scale it by Y a bit. Rotate that. I can scale that up just a smidge too. Rotate. I know there's a lot of steps, but if you trust the process, I kid you not, you'll be happy. I promise. I promise. So now if we look at our tree, look at that tree. Very nice tree. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go back to layout and start placing this guy here. Now, actually, it's like, I know why it's like that. Because I kind of need it in a 90-degree angle. So if I were to press G, nope, that didn't do it. Why didn't you do it? That's okay. We'll struggle a little bit. All right. R to rotate. There you go. Now things are happening. Now things are absolutely happening, right? Cheez-Its. Alrighty. But as you can see, I am struggling because it's most likely my pivot is absolutely wrong, and that's okay. But you guys get the idea. Turn that off. Actually, two. Vertex is cool too. Isn't it fun? It's so fun. I promise. Once you start, you're gonna be tree crazy like I am. You know? All right, neat. You guys get the idea. I'm definitely gonna leave it to you to finish this tree. You know, make it your own. Or make new leaves, make new art. You know, finish the tree. So, yeah. And do you guys want to see it, what it looks like in Horizon really quick? Because I am at time. Yes. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to bring this. Oh my God, this one just delete. As you guys can see, I do struggle. Everybody struggles, you know. It's part of the process, you know. You want to pull out your hair. That's part of the process too, you know. And it's okay. It's okay to be there. You know why? Because you're doing it. You're making it happen. So definitely don't give up on yourself, because this is definitely it's definitely a lot of work to take on. So, but it is also rewarding. One thing I didn't do, actually, is I didn't extrude the faces, because it needs to be double-sided for Horizon. Okay, cool. Time and practice and patience. Okay, but knowing that all of this is all on one texture map, I can feel good enough to just join it, right? Now I have one solid tree. Okay, so I'm going to do File, Export, FBX. Yeah. I'm going to do Selected Objects, and I'm going to call this Test Tree. Okay, cool. Very cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into Horizon Worlds by going through the desktop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find my Horizon Worlds app, click on the 3 buttons, and go to Start Desktop Mode. And definitely I created flowers so you guys can play around with them, make your own bushes, make your own flowers. You could put flowers on the tree, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and New World. I'm going to call this One Awesome Tree. Okay, cool. Create.
Nice.
Loading. Okie doke. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom here. I'm going to do Add New, 3D Model. I'm going to turn off the offset pivots because we don't need it right now. Then I'm going to go ahead in my files. I'm going to go find it in this nicely. Oh, that's right. I did do 2. Did I? Hold on. Did I name this mask? Yes, because, you know, I go crazy sometimes. So I could actually select this entire thing, open, and then import, because Horizon now is able to bring in multiple textures on one mesh, which is hallelujah. It's fantastic. All right, let's take out this tree. Let's hope it looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and click this asset and drag it out. And there we have it. It's a tree. It's a beautiful tree. At least, oh. Oh, there's something wrong with my tree. I can see it already. It's inverted. Yep, the normals. And that's okay. This is an easy fix. What we're going to do is I'm going to go here, and I'm actually going to Control Z out of joining all those pieces. And this happens a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this overlay to see what's going on, right? You guys know from the creating the sky spheres is, look, I have an inverted tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do tab to edit mode, A, and then I'm going to do Control N. Actually, no, it's Alt N, my bad, Alt N. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip my normals. Now, my red normals became blue, meaning that they're in the correct orientation right now. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn off this viewport overlay because I don't need it anymore. And tab, I'm going to go ahead and, because I did mess with these guys too, I'm going to do Alt E, and I'm going to just extrude those along and all this. Okay, cool. Now that is all situated, I'm going to do Control J, join that up, File, Export, FBX. I'll just overwrite that. Go into Horizon. Then I'm going to do Add New, 3D Model, turn off those pivots. We don't need it. Alrighty, grab these guys up, open, import. Now let's see. The normals are not normal. All right, thank you guys for sticking to it. What is it? It's been an hour and 30 minutes. Oh my gosh, you guys are very, very awesome. Okay, and with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and set up the survey link for you guys. And here's the tree. I'm gonna press F to center. And now, as you can see, I made an awesome little tree. What the heckies is going on? I'm having issues. There you go. Now you can see the tree. Actually, if I were to take that gizmo down, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. Seriously, like, my suggestion is to play around with making your own art, making your own leaves, because that's, to me, that is the most fun part, right? Is just making things your own with your own hands. Look at that. Didn't come out too bad. You could do a lot with that branch PNG for sure.